Welcome to Universal Man. My name is Mark Weppett, and I'm here to help you unleash your apex potential. And today, I want to talk to you about the secret for getting ahead. And this is something that is very near and dear to my heart, because for most of my life, when I would lie down in my bed at night, I would be filled with anxiety, feeling like, oh, I'm not where I want to be. Oh, I need to get further ahead. Like everyone else is farther ahead than me. And like, oh, I've got all this urgent stuff I got to take care of. I'm not keeping up with everything. And it sucked, right? It sucked. The feeling of being behind is one of the worst. You can't really enjoy life because you just kind of have this like gripping sort of tension underlying everything that you do. But luckily, thankfully, praise God, I finally learned how to switch that. I finally learned how to reach the point where, when I lie down in bed at night, I feel, I'm ahead. I don't have anything pressing on me. I'm not only where I'm supposed to be, I'm actually ahead of schedule. I've got room to breathe. And let me tell you, it's an entirely different way of living and operating. And I want this for you. And I believe that you can have it if you just follow what I share with you today. While I'm sharing the secret for getting ahead today, I'll also be giving you a taste of the format that I'll be using in my new weekly newsletter, the Break, Build, Become, aka B3 Thursday newsletter. So the idea is every Thursday, I'm going to give you a kind of breakdown for breaking a bad habit, building a good habit, and becoming a better man, talking about the identity shift component. And so I'm going to be using this same format here to give you the secret for getting ahead. And if you like it, make sure you click the link below and sign up for the newsletter. All right, so for the first B, break. The habit you've got to break if you want to start getting ahead is the habit of systemic overload. And to explain what this is, I want to borrow an idea from the field of audio processing, like mixing and, making music, audio engineering, that kind of thing, all right? There's this concept of headroom. And headroom refers to kind of like the safe range to which you can turn a signal up before you start getting distortion in the sound or potentially even damaging equipment. So for example, like, you can only send so much signal or, I don't know the exact physics of it. You can only send so much charge to a speaker before the speaker's sound's going to start sounding distorted. It's going to start peaking. And if you go too far, you could even blow out the speaker, right? So there's this safe range, and that's what headroom is that like, all right, yeah, there's technically a maximum amount that we could send, but really we have to stay down here further. We have to stay down in the safe range if we really want everything to work properly, and we want it to be reliable, and we want it to know that it's going to work. This is a similar sort of thing that happens with humans, all right? We all have a safe range of effort where we can produce good and reliable results. But if we start pushing our effort up higher and higher and higher, well, first, the quality of our output starts to go down. This is kind of like the sound getting distorted. But if we go too high, we can blow out a speaker, aka burn ourselves out, and then we fall into a rut, and then we kind of just limp along, and we actually, end up doing even more poorly, right? And this is a kind of sneaky tendency. And it's really because it's hard for us to keep track of everything that we should be doing, what we want to do, or whatever. And like, I'm quite aware of this phenomenon, but even I recently fell into this issue. Like, for any of you who've been following me for a while, you know that since the beginning of the year, I was putting out a piece of content almost every day, Monday through Friday. And while that part I was capable of doing, what I didn't realize was that, the other parts of my business that I'm supposed to be running, I didn't have the space for them, and I wasn't making the kind of progress that I wanted. And ultimately, I slowed myself down because I went past my threshold. My system of producing content at X rate, it actually, it lowered the quality of my overall output, right? And sometimes you don't know really what your levels are. You don't really know what the complete output you're capable of is. So you got to push yourself sometimes to find that bound. But like the proof's in the pudding, right? The proof is in what you're actually getting, how you're feeling. And, I noticed myself falling back into that feeling of, oh, I'm falling behind thing. I was like, wait a second, I know this game. I'm not going back here. So we want to break the habit of systemic overload, and we want to build the habit of systemic headroom. All right. Simple enough, right? So basically, you want to be able to have your goals stretch you, but you want your systems for achieving those goals to be well within your capabilities, right? And the way that you can think about it is like this headroom, it's kind of like a suspension system. It's like giving your productivity shocks, like a car that's got, the suspension in it that allows it to go over bumps and absorb impact, right? And if you think about it, like most of us struggle with putting cushion in our systems because we feel like it's slowing us down. And I think in a lot of ways, this is a misunderstanding about how life kind of works. Like life is not a flat speedway. Right? Everyone thinks that, all right, the key to going fast is to tune yourself up like a race car and go at it, right? I'm going to build 12 habits at once. I'm going to build a side business. I'm going to get in amazing shape. I'm going to do it all, baby. And it doesn't work, right? It doesn't work at all because, like I said, it's not a straight speedway. It's very, very bumpy, lots of speed bumps all over it. And, if you drive a race car over a bunch of speed bumps at high speed, guess what's going to happen? It's going to break, right? It's going to blow out. And that's what we all experience every single time that you get yourself super motivated to go super hard and then you fail and then you like wallow in a ditch for like a week or two or a month or several years or a couple of decades. Like, that's what happened is like you are now and you need to get repaired. You need to recoup yourself. You need to get yourself back together in order to, give it another go. And so instead of being like a race car with very small amount of shock absorption, trying to go really fast, we want to be more like a rugged, like off-road vehicle, right? That's able to go over the speed bumps, absorb the shocks, and that one actually is going to go faster than the race car because of the terrain of life, right? There's always going to be stuff that we don't know that's going to come along. We're always going to have, and any goal has a bunch of uncertain elements to it. And so we got to be able to take those licks and keep going. And so a simple example of this would be, say you want to build a side business, all right? And you're like, all right, I got a block time to put into the side business. And you think about it, it's like, how much could I do? Well, I could probably do, 2 hours Monday through Friday. I could probably do 2 hours every day, but I'm going to be reasonable. I'm just going to say 2 hours Monday through Friday. And so like 10 hours a week, got it. That's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to measure myself. If I hit my 2 hours, then I know I'm making progress on my business. Now, problem with this is you don't want to ask yourself how much could you do? Because first of all, we tend to be overly optimistic, but could implies like, what's the maximum? Okay. And that's the wrong way to build a reliable system, right? We don't want to know, we don't want to hit the maximum. It's good to kind of know what the maximum is, but that's not where we want to be operating. That's especially not where we want to be setting our hard line requirements of ourselves, because then you're just going to be constantly, guess what, feeling behind or feeling under intense pressure to keep that maximum up. So, what would it look like if you added a bit more headroom? Well, maybe 5 hours a week. Maybe that would be more reasonable. Maybe it'd even be something less. Like the key is that you can always do more when you feel good, right? You can always do more when you feel good, but you have to know where are you setting the limit to push yourself. So we want to break the habit of systemic overload, build the habit of systemic headroom, and then we come to the become part of this content model here. The become aspect is really the most important because it talks about the identity shift we need to adopt in order to really internalize this change. And who do we want to become here? Well, we want to become a man who can reap the rewards of focus through accepting the sacrifice of focus. Because here's the reality. If you want to have headroom, then you have to choose. You can't do it all. You have to decide what I'm going to focus on, because, here's what I realized as someone who has consistently overloaded themselves for the past several decades. Here's the underlying thought process that screws you over. It's really like, an existential gluttony. All right. It's an immaturity. It's the desire to have it all and trying to have it all at once. And it's this background thinking of like, well, maybe if I don't like choose something, if I don't prioritize something and I just don't make the decision, well, maybe I'll get lucky and I'll just get it all. Maybe I'll just get lucky. Maybe I'll like, be able to do everything, right? Could happen. Maybe. That's what I realized has been going on in my head for a long time, because it's difficult to make a decision. Because like when you decide to make a really sustainable system that will work, you're certain you can do, well, it's not going to be everything. It's going to be a few things done well, done reasonably. The reality is, if you want to embrace the magic of focus, you have to also embrace the violence of focus. Focus demands that you take everything in opposition to what you're focusing on and kill it off. You basically say, all right, I'm going to do this small, reasonable set of things, and everything else, not doing it. Not right now. And there's a part of you that's going to be like, oh, no. And that's kind of like the sacrificial altar of your soul. It's like you burning up all those other potentialities so that you can make one potentiality become concrete, to truly manifest it. But it's in that burning process, if you allow it to go on, eventually you get over it, one, but it kind of like, it seems like metaphysically, it turns that stuff to ash, and that ash becomes the fertilizer for the fruits of your success. And so this is the internal alchemy of success. And you have to become a man who not only accepts this process, but embraces it, who loves it. All right. This is the key to getting ahead, is recognizing that focus is violent. It is a truly intense process that you must own. It requires you to make decisions and face discomfort. And it's only then that you can start getting the closest thing to guaranteed progress that we have, right? And this is a big shift for a lot of guys. I know it's a big shift for me personally to start operating from this place, because the way that this really gets you ahead, we're talking about this whole thing is about how do I get ahead? Well, getting ahead, it's a matter of perception, right? It's a matter of perspective. It's about how you're thinking about it. And if you're in this mindset of like, oh, I need to get it all at once, well, then of course you're going to feel behind, because you're not really making progress on any of that stuff in any significant way. Your systems that you expect of yourself, they are so much that you're never going to actually have any buffer. You're never actually going to be ahead of what your systems demand of you, because you're asking too much of yourself. And so when you create this headroom and you accept the focus, well, then you will start feeling ahead, because you're going to set, all right, this is what I have to do. And you'll be able to do more than that most of the time. Sometimes you'll only do the minimum, which is the shock absorbers we're talking about. But like, this is the kind of shift that needs to occur if you really want to start making reliable progress and feeling like you're getting ahead. All right, so that's the core of this video, but I want to always offer something more. If you liked what I said so far, that's the kind of core break, build, become of it. And, if you liked it, please like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and make sure you sign up for the newsletter so that you can get something like this in your inbox every week. But I always want to make sure that I'm giving the opportunity to guys who want to take this work further. Sometimes, guys don't. You just want to get the core point, move on, totally feel you. But I know there's a lot of you out there who do want to take things deeper. And so, each week I'll be offering, an opportunity to go further with this kind of stuff if you want to check out some of my paid content. So, for example, if we're going to look at what we covered today, all right, there's a piece that's missing here, all right? If you set your goals, for example, at an always reasonable level that you can do, well, that is, by definition, beneath your actual capacity. That's beneath your actual potential, right? And so one of the things I ran into as I started doing this sort of stuff is that I started feeling like I was underperforming. It almost felt too easy. It felt like I could do more. And so, the issue I'd run into then is that I would be like, okay, well, I can do more, so I'll just do more. And then I'll do more. And then I'll do a little bit more. And then all of a sudden I blew out my speaker and, I'm not doing anything anymore. And it's like, how do we actually find that sweet spot? Well, there's a methodology that I've developed for doing this, which I call the STACK method. It's a goal-setting method that is very flexible. It's adaptable in the ways that I described here, so that you're basically always operating at the best you can, or the best you feel like doing. And And you're never going to risk overloading yourself. You're never going to risk breakdown because of the way that we set up the goals. And so, for example, if you want to learn how to do this kind of stuff, then you want to check out the elite membership in my Vanguard community, where I have a free mini course on the stack method available for all you, frontline and big time and go-getters out there. Speaking of systems, me on YouTube here, I'm probably going to just do a few uploads a month right now. I'm bringing that down. I want to focus more on this newsletter. So if you like the, break, build, become kind of format, make sure you sign up for that. But if you want more, make sure you check out the elite tier of the Universal Man Vanguard. There's even a trooper tier that's, only $5 if you want to just get a taste of the community and see if it's kind of your bag or not. But that's what I have for you guys today. Hopefully you found this useful. If you did, please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you all in the next one. Ooh, yeah.